who rose from modest origins to become arguably the richest man in history and a Emperor Charles I, also Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain. The video sets the stage by highlighting the vast power wielded by Charles and the Habsburg dynasty. The story pivots to a letter Fugger sent to Charles demanding repayment of loans, a moment that reveals Fugger's immense influence over European monarchs. The Church's sale of indulgences to repay debts offended many, including Martin Luther, whose protests reshaped European religious and political landscapes for centuries. Concluding that Fugger controlled about 2.2% of Europe's wealth at his peak, a staggering figure that cements his status as one of the wealthiest individuals ever. The video invites viewers to reflect on Fugger's profound, often overlooked impact on Renaissance history and European affairs. Jakob Fugger was born in 1459 into a family that had gradually climbed the social ladder in Augsburg through successful business ventures in weaving and goldsmithing. After his father's death, his mother managed the family's affairs effectively, allowing Jakob and his siblings to prosper. Jakob expanded the family business, venturing into banking, mining investments, and international trade, particularly in precious metals and spices. His innovative financial dealings helped German banks outpace their Italian rivals. Fugger's reach extended beyond commerce. He was instrumental in financing major historical events, including the expedition of Ferdinand Magellan and the election of Charles V as Holy Roman Emperor, which he helped secure by providing unprecedented loans totaling nearly 850,000 florins. His financial support also contributed to the rebuilding of St. Peter's Basilica and the creation of the Swiss Guard for the Vatican. However, Fugger's financial backing of the Catholic Church indirectly spurred the Protestant Reformation. This shift marked a move away from purely feudal or military might toward economic influence as a key driver of political change. By integrating European, African, and Asian markets, Fugger's business model reflected the early stages of globalization, with European powers vying for control of lucrative trade routes and commodities, setting the stage for colonial expansion. Fugger's influence over Charles V's election demonstrates how bankers could shape the course of history. The Church's dependence on loans led to the controversial sale of indulgences, which became a catalyst for the Protestant Reformation. This illustrates how economic practices can have profound cultural and religious ramifications. Finally, the video weighs Fugger's wealth against historical figures like John D. Rockefeller. His capital enabled the Habsburgs to expand their territories, resist Ottoman advances, and confront rising powers like France and later revolutionary France and Napoleonic forces, shaping the geopolitical landscape of Europe. Highlights, it exemplifies how individuals outside traditional their success helped German banks eclipse Italian ones, signaling a geographic and economic shift in European financial centers. His legacy reveals how economic forces underpin historical change, making him a critical but often underappreciated figure in world history. This development was crucial for funding large-scale political and exploratory endeavors. Jakob Fugger was arguably the richest man in history, controlling 2.2% of Europe's wealth at his peak. Fugger's financial influence helped shape the Habsburg dynasty's power, notably funding Charles V's election as Holy Roman Emperor. Fugger's banking empire expanded across Europe and into global trade, including investments in spice trade and mining. He financed Ferdinand Magellan's expedition, a landmark event in global exploration. Fugger funded significant Catholic projects like the rebuilding of St. Peter's Basilica and the creation of the Swiss Guard. His loans to the Church indirectly sparked the Protestant Reformation by enabling the sale of indulgences. The video reveals how Fugger's wealth and political influence intertwined with major historical events that shaped Europe for centuries. Key insights: Financial power as political leverage. Jakob Fugger's ability to loan enormous sums without collateral, relying solely on the promise of monarchs, underscores the burgeoning role of finance as a form of political power in Renaissance Europe. Global trade and economic expansion. Fugger, his ventures into the spice trade and mining, illustrate the expanding global economic networks of the early 16th century. Rise of banking and financial institutions. The Fugger family's transition from goldsmith trades to banking and investment in mining represents the evolution of financial institutions during the Renaissance. Intersection of finance and religion. Fugger's funding of Catholic church projects and the Swiss Guard highlights the close ties between finance and religion. Economic foundations of European hegemony. By financing the Habsburg dynasty as military and political campaigns, Fugger helped establish a European hegemony that lasted for centuries. Personal agency and historical impact. Fugger's story challenges narratives that focus solely on monarchs and military leaders by highlighting the role of a private individual whose financial acumen and strategic thinking had outsized influence. Measuring wealth across history. The video-esque comparison between Fugger and Rockefeller illuminates the difficulties in comparing wealth across eras. Jakob Fugger's life encapsulates the transformative power of finance in Renaissance Europe, bridging commerce, politics, religion, and exploration. Summary: the video explores the life and legacy of Jakob Fugger, a merchant banker from Augsburg who rose from modest origins to become arguably the richest man in history.